Hello, everyone. Jess Frank coming to you with another interview, this time with Warren Bottke, PGA golf professional. Warren's had an amazing career in the golf business and has helped so many golfers, and one of the most generous people in the industry, always helping PGA/PGAM students, and just somebody who I've always looked up to as just a generous, kind person who can really not only help your golf game, but just learn a lot about life. And so something that I've always admired about him. So I just wanted to see if we can get Warren on and talk a little bit about his golf career and what he's accomplished. And I see Warren is in there, so I'll invite Warren on now. So waiting should come in a second here. Hello, Warren.
Hey, Jess, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir. It's great to see you.
Oh, likewise. Same here. We're all surviving the battle, right?
Yeah, it's really something. It's what I love about our industry, and you've been doing this your entire career, but what I love about it is, like, it seems like everyone is coming together, all the golf professionals, PGA professionals, to help each other and learn and grow. And it's just something I love about our industry. And just kind of, it's interesting. Some things happen, and you can definitely take good advantage of it. And I think everybody has really reached out, and it's pretty cool. So what do you, something like that has just been fantastic.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, every day there's always a Zoom lesson or
Yeah.
a webinar or a bunch of coaches collaborating in some way,
Right.
sharing ideas. It's not anybody about us today, which has been really cool. You're starting to see a lot of people share ideas and we're all in this together, and it wasn't anyone's fault. That's the tough
Right.
part.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, this thing that just, kind of happened, and we have to survive. And, it's something that I think when things like this occur, whether it be, 2001 with 9/11, things like this tragedy makes everybody come together. I think it just kind of pulls at our natural human spirit to help each other.
Yeah, no question about it. And,
Yeah.
our fraternity, the South Florida PGA, they're cognizant of what's going on, and they're definitely trying to do what they can to try to
Right.
help and reach out. The PGA of America and their emergency fund, trying to
Right.
help others out that are less fortunate. So, it's a band of brothers and a
Yep.
fraternity of all golf professionals, male and female, working together.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, what the PGA of America has put together for its golf professionals across the world, I mean, is really a nice, nice thing for them, what they've done. And, it just shows how everybody cares, and nobody's ever faced anything like this. So we have to kind of, like you said, just come together and get through it together. And that's the only way to do it.
No, totally agree. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I see you've been putting your posts, and I see more golf professionals doing their backyard lessons and different things like that.
Right.
I just, like I said, have been busy doing a couple little things. Port St. Lucie is open.
Right.
I've made a jaunt up there a day or two for people that are snowbirds that are heading home, wanting to
Right.
take one quick look under the hood before it's time to go home. And
Right.
so I've had a chance to get out of the house one or two times, but still practicing the safe distancing and so on as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's very strange about our South Florida region. And I understand we're very connected to the Northeast, where the worst outbreaks are. So I think the government down here is taking precaution with the golf being non-essential from Palm Beach County down. But, from Palm Beach County up to Naples, I mean, all the golf is still open with social distancing, but it's still, that they're looking at it as an essential avenue for people to get out. And everybody has their own feelings on it. I wish golf was open down here, but at the same time, it gives us different things that we can take advantage of. And, you know, sometimes challenges like these present opportunities. And I think like something like we're doing, you know, or giving out, you know, giving content out to people, I think is a great, you know, great way to make use of our time.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. You just got to be
Yeah.
innovative, and I'm on the back nine of my career, so I'm not so savvy with all the nuts and bolts of everything. But I've learned a lot, and just
Yeah.
watching the younger youth in your era and below gather all their tools and technology, it's been really neat and exciting for to see how they're making a difference.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really I'm not that much younger, or not that much younger than you, Warren. But you know, just so you know, we've always communicated back and forth. I've been a section member for 20 years, and you
Right.
know, I've always you know looked up to you as somebody who what I strive for as a golf professional of you know being kind and being generous and being someone who's you know trying to promote the PGA brand as somebody as a teacher and a mentor and so why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came into the business and you know kind of go from there and what spurred you on to be a golf pro.
Well, it's kind of the same story with a lot of people.
Yeah,
I played high school golf and I caddied, and as a caddy, the host professional befriended me and became like a mentor to me and said, "What
right,
do you want to do with your life? What are you thinking about?" I said, "It's golf." And my dad was an engineer designer, and I thought, well, I didn't want to sit on a board and draw all day. That was not going to be my thought. So I thought, you
right,
know, why not maybe do golf courses and that together? And I was going to be a landscape architecture or golf course architecture. I did a lot of caddying, a little bit on the PGA Tour. I'd seen a lot of golf courses, and I thought maybe that might be the thing I wanted to do.
mm-hmm.
And just through caddying and being outside, I said I can't be inside on a drawing board.
Right,
So I ended up, my golf professional at my facility that I caddied for had a friend that was looking for an assistant, and I ended up going up there and applying for the job. There were 25 applicants, and I was the guy that got the job. And I asked my professional at that time, why was I, about 3 weeks later, why did I get the job? He said, you were the only guy that wore a tie. So, I mean, that's old school, but,
yeah,
you know, for those that are listening, maybe that might be a little pet peeve. It's always, my friend and golf professional always told me, it's easy to always put a tie on or a jacket when you have one when you don't have one. Always keep
right.
it in the car. Little old school, but it worked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
And
I've
then from there, I was an assistant professional for about 7 years and got my first head pro job in Pennsylvania when I was 25. Became a master professional when I was 32. I
okay,
was the youngest master professional in the PGA's history at that age. I saw this small group of guys. There were 13 of them when I was involved. And I thought, I want to be like these guys. And it's basically the top 1% of the PGA. It's what I would call Top Gun, the top elite golf professionals. And it's been a lot of nice benefits from being in R&D, research and development, being a spokesperson, so on and so forth. And now, 30 years later, we have somewhat in the neighborhood of about 421 master professionals. Yep, yep, that's good. I've been
yeah.
on. I saw
Sorry,
you freeze up, but after that,
yeah,
I've been a standalone teacher the past 30 years. I did a stint as a GM. I've been a director of golf. I've been a head golf professional for probably 15 years, and then
right.
I saw that my goal and what I wanted to do was always be an instructor, and the past 30 years that's all I've done, and that's all I enjoy doing.
Yeah, did you saw that was kind of like how you felt you could help people the most as a teaching professional?
Yeah, I think one-on-one, I felt like I could make more of a difference in people's lives than I would in a membership of 750. And
Right.
I'm a relational kind of guy. I enjoy one-on-one. I enjoy meeting people and interacting. And I just felt like they could hear and understand. I could tell my story a little better than I could to 750 members at a club.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that's kind of how I've kind of become a teaching professional myself is that, it's great to be assistant pro and it's great to be a head pro, but there's something special about helping someone and building a relationship and helping a golfer play better and enjoy the game that we love and promote that brand and that promote that golfer to become better. And that's there. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, I've taken golf lessons from different instructors and I mean, I know how I feel when I hit the ball better, and I can only imagine when, somebody who's just starting out or is a, 15, 20 handicapper and wants to get better. It's, that's my whole goal. It's all about the person in front of me than what I'm saying. So, I've always learned to, talk less and listen more.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it's very gratifying to be on both bookends of having a junior or Mrs. Jones who's a 9-holer raw beginner get the ball up in the air for the first time and see the joy and the excitement in her eyes and her voice, to the other spectrum of one of your players win a major or become number one in the world standing on the green holding the trophy with them.
Right.
I mean, the both excitement is different, but it's what we do, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna, one of the things that I love about teaching golf is helping junior golfers and helping them, because I grew up playing golf as a junior golfer outside of Chicago, and had a my pro growing up was Tom Norton at Mount Prospect Golf Course, and before that was Emil Esposito that was there. So these guys have been really kind of influential on my career as a junior. And then, just getting that feeling of, getting better every day, especially if you enjoy the game and you can build yourself through junior golf and then the high school golf and then maybe AJGA and college and onto that. And, you've had tremendous success. And if people out there don't know, I mean, you work with Brooks Koepka and started with him. And tell us a little bit about your passion about helping juniors and how that kind of got started with you.
Well, it's, the kids are, our future, and they're the ones that are going to make a difference in the next generation. And I've just always enjoyed being around kids, being around the kids and doing things. And it just was neat to see kids. I mean, obviously, it's a situation where it's misrepresented. Sometimes they think it's a babysitting deal, and it's all about the relationship first. And obviously, we always try to keep safety in the forefront because we don't want someone to get clobbered and hurt.
Right.
But it's just neat to see kids enjoy themselves and how they can just kind of do their own thing. And many parents come up and say at different ages, what should I do with their grip and this and that. And I kind of let them be their own individual, and the more they can be their own individual, let them be creative. And then when we start to get to the point where they've drank the Kool-Aid and they're all in and they love the game, then let's start to really drill down and start to work on some firm fundamentals that would be a foundation to where they can build from.
Right. So what do you think as a let's say somebody's coming, an 8-year-old young lady is coming to you for a lesson, never played before, how would you introduce her to the game? Because I get that's, a lot of parents, I get parents that call me and, whether boy or girl, hey, my kid wants to get into golf, or I'd like to see my kid get into golf. What are some of the things that you like to start with right away that makes it fun and kind of delivers that hook and keeps them interested?
Yeah, I think I try to get them more into a community, in someone in that vein, for the simple reason that I just think they get the social side of it, and then they can kind of drink the Kool-Aid a little bit when they see other kids having fun doing it. To take her one-on-one, never touch the club, I really shy away from that. And I try to work it with an assistant or put them into a junior league or do different things like that. There's other, clinics and stuff like that. We try to let them get to that level, kind of putting their big toe in the tub and test the water to see if they like it. Then if they do, then get them into more of a structured program with a community of kids. And then the third tier would be, once I see that they're excelling and they're doing really well, maybe pull them out for a private or two and put them into an elite junior group, where then we start to talk a little bit about U.S. kids and stuff like that. So there's really a tier order or a pecking order. I try to work it out, but very rarely will I take anybody 6, 7, 8 that never touched a club from ground level, unless it was a relative, family member, friend, because I just don't have the time to really sit and go through the ABCs. And I think they learn more the other way.
Right, right. No, I agree. I've been, I've done both. I've had, 8-year-olds that come to me and that wanted, they just want to have an individual lesson. So I do that. And I've had, groups of juniors that, that want, that learn better that way. So it's just, I think that's kind of, based individually, but I agree. Definitely, the groups and the socialization and keeping it fun and more of a team atmosphere is very important. But, I've always found that the safety rules come first.
Oh, yeah.
That's very difficult because I don't think they understand the impact of a golf club and what the damage could be if they're not paying attention.
Sure, no question about it. And what's kind of neat about it is, the first question an instructor will ask me is, how do you keep these kids captivated at that age? Let's say it's a small group from 5 to 8 or 6 to 8. And basically, if we took an hour, they're like, there's no way Johnny's going to sit for an hour. Well, we do 3 different modules or 4 different modules of 15-minute, 20-minute clips. So the first 15 minutes, let's break it down into 4 modules. We'll go the first 15, we're talking to you a little bit about safety, the game, introducing you to the game. The next 15, you go to the putting green and you work on the putter and understand how to putt. The third might be a snack station, a hydration station where you get a snack and something to drink. And then the last one might be a hitting station or an agility where you might run, skip, jump, and hop. And in an hour, it goes so fast, you go, what the heck happened? And the parent goes to you, was he okay? It was great, because after 10, 12, 15 minutes, you can't have them sitting there with a 7-iron hitting a bucket of balls for an hour. It ain't going to happen.
Right. No.
So they don't learn. No one learns. Everybody gets frustrated, and it's a losing effort.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's the one thing you always have to keep them moving. I mean, that's, my dad was a speech and language pathologist, and he always worked with processing, and he said the same thing. It was like 15 minutes, you're done. One task, 15 minutes, but break it up. That way you process more, you have more fun, and you enjoy it. I mean, it's, like you said, it's just, kids, you can't treat them as an adult, and try to make them do, the same thing that you do in an adult golf lesson, because they'll just lose interest quick.
Yeah, sure. And the thing is, we always put that resting hydration station where they always are going to ask you for a snack. I want to get water, and we sit them in the shade. Yeah. So, that way they're getting a little bit of a rest time, and they're kind of re-energizing to go into the next battle, or the next module, to where they feel like they're going to be ready and go, instead of this is their 4th one in a row, and they're just hitting balls. There's nothing left in the tank. And they're going to shut down emotionally as well as physically.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Well, that's great. That's phenomenal information for anyone who's looking to either work with juniors or has been working with juniors, and something that could definitely help anybody and parents as well. Just understanding kind of what goes into a successful junior program and what will keep their kids interested, because sometimes parents think they're not instructors and they haven't been trained, and they think by taking their 6-year-old or 7-year-old out to the range for an hour is going to make them love to play golf, and sometimes it just works the opposite. I mean, I see it all the time. They're trying to make their kid hit a bucket of balls, and the kid's just like, forget it. He or she are done after about 5-10 minutes, and then the parents get frustrated and all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm sure you've had that experience before.
Oh, yeah, no question. And the thing is, I think where some parents, they talk about specialization too soon. And, Johnny wants to be a golf pro, he's 6 years old, and this is what he wants to do. And you don't let them specialize till they're at least 11 or 12. I mean, try to keep them in another sport. Let them play
Right.
basketball. Let them play lacrosse for a season. You know, keep them
Yeah.
active. Let them get strong physically, mentally, and interact with the socialization of other kids. And then let them gravitate to that love and that passion like you and I did. That's the
Right.
reason why we do what we do now. And the
Yeah.
more we do that, let them make that decision instead of so many parents live vicariously through their kids and they want to, geez, I didn't have that opportunity. I'm making sure Johnny really
Yeah.
is going to be the player.
Yeah, and what you just hit on about specialization is huge, and it's such a pet peeve of mine because I grew up playing basketball, baseball, golf, soccer. My mom wouldn't let me play football, but I always messed around with it with my friends in the winter time. But I was always playing different sports, and I can't tell you the development that occurs from ages when you first get into junior soccer from like 4 years old, and then you start playing baseball and basketball and tennis, and how you can develop your skills for golf at that age is I mean, you never lose that. I mean,
No.
that's something that works tremendously.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize, these other sports, the jumping, running,
Right.
skipping, hopping, striking, are motor programs that are going to help your golf swing.
Correct.
So it isn't like you're getting away from golf. You're just substituting another sport, but yet re-emphasizing the muscles of the other. So that's the
Yeah.
reason why it's really still good. You're internally still specializing, but outwardly you're not externally because they're playing other sports. But they're still doing a lot of good things for golf and not knowing it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're learning footwork.
Yes.
They're strengthening, their eye-hand coordination.
Balance.
Just balance, just bat and ball games, and kicking the ball with their feet. Soccer and and basketball conditioning, and whether they're doing cross country or whatever it is, track and field. It's always going to go back to help them with their golf game. And
Right.
sometimes I think parents get so caught up in seeing these juniors at 14, 15 years old that they think they're going to help their junior advance quicker by specializing. And I think it's the opposite. I think they're only hurting their child.
Well, they lose a little bit of passion. And I've had,
Right.
you know, in the 35 years of just strictly coaching, I've had a few people just burn out at
Right.
15, 16, 17, and just said it's not fun anymore. And they were
Right.
grinding since they were 6, for
Yeah.
10 years. And that's what you have to be careful, because that can happen. And
Oh yeah.
the thing is, you want to keep it live, you want to keep it fresh, you want to keep it energized and exciting. But when they say junior golf is dead, if you go to U.S. kids
Right.
AJGA tournaments when there's three,
Yeah.
400 kids and
Yeah.
they're crushing it, believe
Yeah.
me, it's alive and well. you
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah. Oh no. Junior golf, I mean,
yeah,
according to the NGF, is the biggest it's ever been,
right,
and a lot has to do with people like yourself, PGA golf professionals, who are super passionate and knowledgeable and great coaches, and they lead the kids in the right direction.
right.
And with the PGA Junior League, it gives all of us as PGA golf professionals to put together a program that can benefit people who are just like dabbling a little bit and not sure about the game, or just gives them a taste of the game, and that's all we're looking for at that age.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah. But I found what you do is amazing, because you not only coach but you teach young professionals, PGM students. You go to these different schools and sites. And why don't you talk a little bit about that, and how you're a mentor to so many different golf professionals, and how you got into that part of the business?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really neat. I've been doing that now for 25 years. I was part
Hmm.
of the GPTP, the Golf Professional Training Program. Got involved in 1995. I used to do a little bit of the old business schools back then, for those that might be on the air. And I just used to teach a little bit of the program or the curriculum. And
Hmm.
it was just so gratifying. Number one, it was to get off the lesson tee and be in a different environment and interact with your peers, but it was also giving back. I mean,
Right.
I've said this more than once, at PGA, I can't give back enough for what it's provided for me, my life, my family, it's priceless, as the MasterCard commercial. I mean, it's priceless. I can't give back enough. So I've always had that mantra to say, hey, look, I always want to give back. I always want to be make a difference in someone's life, and the only way to do it is through this vehicle. And it's been so much fun, so rewarding. It keeps me young to go to these universities. I've been to all 18 one time or another in a classroom of 8 or 10 or 12 or 60. And they ask you questions, and, you try to cut them off at the pass to where you can help them maybe, take a left instead of making a U-turn in their life and finding themselves, getting more and more involved in golf. And it's a trickle-down effect. I see more and more people now passing the baton to others, and it's a trickle-down effect. And that's one day I'm not going to be able to be there to do it. So hopefully they'll remember people like myself that gave back to where they can pick up the baton. They're going to be the new breed of the PGA, the new leader, and they need to definitely pick up the slack and do that.
And so what's like a couple pieces of advice you could give to a young professional, somebody just going through the PGM program? I mean, I went through the GPTP and I think it was 99 to 2001. So that was, unfortunately, I never had you as an instructor, but I had Dawes Martlett and Rob Stocky, a couple guys that I remember that are out there now. And but what are a couple pieces of advice that you would give a young professional right now?
Well, first of all, try to find mentors, try to find other people 10, 15, 20 years older than you and ask them questions. Look at their lifestyle, kind of look at them as an individual and say, would you want to emulate them? Would you want to mimic and shadow somebody like that? I've always offered the tee for anyone to come and shadow and watch me teach and learn, the mannerisms and the information. And I would encourage them to do the same, to other people. The other thing is get involved in the beginning in your chapter. Get on a committee, maybe be on a tournament committee, the education committee. Then springboard to that if you feel like you have a niche in governance. Then maybe go from there into a situation where possibly you'd want to be on the board of the chapter, and then work into the chapter into the section where you get on a committee, and then maybe you might want to then do something where you might become an officer, and all those things are kind of cool, to help give these individuals a chance. Right.
Yeah, no, that's that's pretty awesome, and I mean that's the service that you put in and the selfless time and effort is something that anyone would be. They would be smart to go shadow you and learn from you, or like you said, I mean, we were on a Zoom call. I think you were on it too, a Zoom meeting last night where there was, I don't know, 15, 16 of the most, crazy golf professionals, and they all said the same thing. They've all learned from someone else. They've always, the most successful golf pros haven't done it themselves. They've seeked out other people, and people have been more successful and older, and exactly what you said. So you follow that formula, and you should be successful as a golf professional.
Yeah, no one walks the road by themselves. You always have to partner up with somebody. And looking at that mindset and that think tank of people last night, it was incredible of the people that were there, and mentors and people that I looked up to and learned from as well was in that group. And it was very nice. They were genuine. They were giving. Everybody's worried about a secret that they hold under a rock or something like that. And, you didn't wake up one day and fall out of bed and hit your head on the floor and become a great instructor. It's a situation where you just borrow ideas from other people, learn ways to say it differently, and so on. I hate to use the word steal because no one's stealing anything. It's just borrowing information, right? And that's what that's all about. It's just, learning to say something maybe a little different that might echo to another instructor or another student. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, like, fill your toolbox, and And there's so, and especially now, like, when I was coming up, and I'm sure when you were coming up, obviously there was no social media, there was no
Oh
YouTube,
no.
there was no, nothing. So we had to go to individual instructors and learn from them. And, and that's the one thing, like, I think that to be successful in our industry, you have to have an abundance mentality. And I think that everyone on that panel last night was, in that mindset. Like you said, I mean, it's like nobody has the secret. Everybody's messed up. Everybody is. I think one of the guys were, I think Tony Ruggiero, whatever. He came. He's like, yeah, I messed this guy up. He's working at Goldman Sachs
Right,
instead of playing on
exactly.
the tour.
That was
And we've
funny. Yes.
all, yeah, we've, and some just for somebody like that who's been that successful, and to be that honest, and I mean that's what makes us. There aren't many people who would admit that. And
Right.
that's what really makes I think our profession, better, because we're willing to admit things like that and go research and get better and learn from the mistakes.
Well, in life, there's givers and there's takers, and on there, they were all givers. They were giving
Yes.
information. They were being transparent and saying, "Hey, look, I've made some mistakes. I've really messed up
Yeah.
some people," and so on. And I was reading an article just last night of a guy saying that there's too much instruction and we're hurting our people, and no one really takes a person as an individual. And I commented on it and texted him and said, "You're absolutely correct, because let's use a guy like Jim Furyk, and had we put him in that box, he would not
Right.
be the golfer he was today, because everybody would have wanted to fix that backswing.
Right.
And you got to let everybody be an individual. Let them come,
Yeah.
let them do what they like to do, and then go with it." And that was the one thing that Brooks had said many times in a lot of his interviews,
Right.
that I never really changed him. I let him do what he wanted to, and I
Yes.
worked around some certain things to build the foundation, and the rest is
Yeah.
history. And I gave
Yeah.
him that latitude.
Yeah, and what you did with him was just incredible, and your guys' relationship, and that's something that more than obviously Brooks being an amazing golfer and just world beater, number one player in the world, and all the success he's had, the relationship that you guys built over time. I mean, that's just a special. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah, that's number
Yeah.
one. I mean, he's
Yeah.
like a son that I don't have. I have two daughters, and
Right.
we've continued over the years to communicate and be friendly and so on and so forth.
Right.
And quite a few of his interviews, he's echoed and mentioned to people and the interviewer that I'm like his second dad.
Right.
And his dad and I are very good friends as well. But I had a different uh, demeanor and a different way to communicate to him than his dad. And we
Right.
had a lot of special, long, private talks at different times of him growing up. And the years from age 10 to 18 are formative years in an individual's life. And
Sure.
I'm just, was so thankful that he wanted to continue. I'm
Right.
the same yesterday, today, and I'll be the same tomorrow. And he liked what he saw, and he felt comfortable. And I
Right.
never in my wildest dreams thought he would continue to really want to keep that relationship that active. And I'm
Right.
just super blessed about it, because I never expected it. He paid for his lesson. He left. He did his practice and came back. He owes me nothing in
Right.
far as that part of it. Service was due and he was paid. The rent was due, and he paid it. But
Right.
he wants to continue it, and we continue our relationship that way with occasional texts. And I go to two or three of the majors and see him play, and it's just been an incredible journey. I never expected it, and
Yeah.
we've been having fun doing it.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool is that, a lot of people don't see that our industry is like has a long-term focus to it. There's so many people with a short-term focus,
Right,
and I think that, like you said, you never expect somebody like that to reach the heights that they did, but but you're just doing your job on a daily basis. I mean,
right.
you're just putting in the work, you're helping people, and you're taking it day by day. not expecting anything back in return. And I think that's such an amazing attitude to have. And where did that kind of, because that's like, that's a unique personality trait. Where did that kind of develop for you? Did your parents have an influence on that, or?
It kind of goes way back. My
Okay.
parents got divorced when I was 4 years old, and I had a long journey. I really didn't have a great childhood growing up, and I was more of a survivor type kind of guy, and you can never say you can't. So I ended up getting that kind of mentality, and
Right.
anytime I was around somebody, I've always wanted to make a difference and say, you don't know where I came from on the other side of the tracks, and if I can do it, you can do it. So I've
Right.
always been filled with a lot of enthusiasm and excitement and passion, no matter
Yeah.
what. I'm a half-filled kind of guy,
Yeah.
glass, not an empty. And
Right.
it can get infectious, and
Sure.
that's what kind of, at the times in Brooks's life, he was going through the adolescence and stuff like that. He felt a safety net and an area of encouragement, rather, where a parent would reprimand a son, and he took
Right.
that in a negative context where I told him, you're going to make mistakes and do different things, and you're going to have to learn from those. So it
Right.
wasn't like I browbeated him to death about it. I always explained, you did this, you got to take responsibility. If you make bad choices, you have consequences, but you're going to come out always on the other side in a better way.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think there's just so many, it's hard for, parenting is obviously, it's so difficult. And to have
Sure.
like a third party like yourself, kind of put that in his mind. I mean, and I'm sure you not only do it with Brooks, but you've probably done it with,
Oh, all my
countless,
kids. Yes.
countless, yeah, all
Yeah.
your kids, and mentor them the
PGM
same way.
students as well,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And, interestingly enough, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. I'm glass half full,
Right.
positive. I look to my dad in the same way, is that, he was the kid on the other side of the tracks, and he built himself up from nothing. And I kind of, and he said, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And so
Right.
I was kind of always blessed with that mentality. But you said, going back to kind of how you started with Brooks and how you came with it, how he came to you, and you didn't really change what he was doing, but you gave him, I remember he mentioned something about a routine that you gave him for his putting. And I thought that was really cool about how that could get him focused. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's kind of a unique thing, and it's so funny now that you see more and more people on the tour kind of mimicking him. It's like we're
Right.
all copycats in the sense that if you
Yeah.
see one player do something, you kind of like, geez, he's all of a sudden number one in the world, and he's doing this. Maybe I should try that.
Right.
And so basically, he was about 14 years old. We were at Abacoa. That's where I was for 17 years, and most of our teaching happened there. And they had just aerified the greens, and we wanted to do some putting. They just put a light top dress, and I told them, I said, look, you got to be careful when you make and go to these different golf courses. Sometimes there could be a sand particle on your putter. Make sure you always wipe
Right.
that off. So we built
Yeah.
this routine where it takes 3 practice strings looking at the hole. And I taught him, when you look at the hole, your optic eye and your mind, your motor program will tell your arms how much you have to swing. It'd be
Mm-hmm.
like me throwing you a ball, Jess, from here. My eyes know how far you are and how far to swing my arms. So I
Sure.
said, once you do that, I want you then to wipe the blade off to make sure there's nothing on it. Put it behind it, square behind the ball, look at the hole, and then stroke it. And
Right.
since 14 years old, he has done that like clockwork. And he said,
Yeah.
I will never forget it. So an
Yeah.
interesting story, what happened is this year at the last year at the Honda Classic, I was his ambassador, as you know, in the group where a PGA professional walks with a tour pro.
Right.
And he just came, and we were the first group off at 6:30. And we walked out there, and CBS had come out, and they mic'd both of us up, and they were doing a story. And he told me when on the first tee, we started on number 10, and he said, hey, I have not been putting well. If you see something, let me know. I don't know. I just came back from Mexico last week, didn't putt well. And I said, okay. So on 10 is a par 4, which is normally a par 5. He hit it in front of the green and chipped it in. No putts, and made 30. So I said,
Okay.
well, I can't see you putting when you're doing that. So then on 11, he goes down there. He hits it on the side bank. It's a par 4. There's water in front of the green, almost like a peninsula. And he's
Sure.
on the side bank. He chips that in. I said, well, am I ever going to see the putting? So
Yeah.
we kind of giggled and laughed about that. And 12, he putted, and 13 putted. And on the 14th green, I said, are you ready for this? He goes, yeah, what did you see? I said, why did you not do your routine? He goes, what do you mean? I said, you are not going through your routine. He goes, well, you know, it's a practice round, and it's the Pro-Am, and it's Wednesday. I said, how do you expect you in 24 hours to go and play the first round on Thursday and be prepared when you're not preparing now? And he looked at me like a deer in the headlights, and he goes, I'm just being lazy. I said, absolutely you're lazy. Now don't do it again. And I
Right.
talked to him just like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. And I said, okay. So that was on the 14th hole. That was our 5th hole. The
Right.
next 14 holes, he made 6 birdies.
Wow.
And he putted it in, and he said, Coach, I will never not do that again. And I said, you
Wow.
better not with me, because I'm going to tell you about it. But that week, he finished second, tied with Ricky Fowler. And Keith Mitchell won the tournament, won a 15-footer on the 18th hole, where it was going to be a 3-man playoff. And Brooks was number 1 in putting that week on the tour.
Wow. Wow.
So, I mean, it just says, you know, here's a guy, just like anybody else, like you and me, we'd go out and just kind of halfway, just kind of just hit it around. I'm playing with 4 Honda guys that are an 18 handicap or a 12 handicap, and what's the big deal? Just kind of getting the feel for the greens. And I'm like, how do you turn it on and turn it off? You can't.
Right.
And and that was a very, very, very powerful message to him.
Wow. Yeah, that's an awesome story because, you know, routine is huge. And, you know, it's funny, I learned routine playing basketball because as a free
Okay.
I was practicing my free throws in the gym or playing in a pickup game or whatever, you know, or in a regular game. And I used that constantly all the way through playing pickup basketball, and I was always a good free throw shooter. And so I took that same mentality as whether it be you know, my full swing, and whether, you know, I have one practice swing, I take a look and I set up and I hit it. And so I always have a routine. And I think that's something that I think golf instructors sometimes overlook in teaching their students, but it's something that's always in the back of my mind and always something that I think is super important. And obviously, even at the highest levels, they're always doing the same routine.
Yeah, no question about it. And you know, it's unique when you watch. I always like to watch the NBA All-Star game, or not the All-Star game, but that weekend. And when they do the free throws, where they have it on the rack and they go around 5 different stations, and they just basically go bang.
Yeah.
And they're swishing them like crazy.
Yeah.
And yet, if they had to make a three-pointer to win, you know, the NBA championship, they'd be tight and they'd bounce it maybe one more time or whatever. My point is, when you get into a routine and you free up your mind, all the years and minutes and months of practicing will then come to that moment. And all I was equating that to him was, you're robbing yourself of a good practice session with a purpose, rather than just haphazardly just going out here going through the motions. And it just really stuck with him, and it was one of those aha moments, I guess, in life. You go, wow, I didn't even really think anything about that, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, somebody like, you know, like Brooks, who, I mean, he's, you know, a world beater and you know, hits the ball. You can't, what are you going to do with his golf swing? You know, and really at that point, it does come down to routine or a mental approach. But I also think, I mean, I think the average player, you know, doesn't have a routine. I mean, I know people come into my lesson tee, it's the same thing. There's no, you know, I ask them, well, what's your routine? What's your pre-shot routine? You know, how do you see the hole? And they're like, what? So I'm like, well, how can you even make a swing, you know, if you have no idea what you're looking at. So I know that's something that I spend a lot of time with. And how about yourself?
Oh yeah, no question about it. You know, the three things I really key on in a lot of lessons, which I tell people, is PGA, posture, grip, and alignment. That was the three things I fundamentally gave him, and he always uses, and he will never forget. And I teach all my students the same thing. And I was listening last night, and there's some of the areas got real technical about dropping the shaft and underplaying and this and that. And I've been a teacher and not much of a TrackMan guy, and I just feel like it's an analogy would be when your body is out of alignment, you go to a chiropractor to get in line, and when you get in line, you feel like $1,000,000. When you go in there in that office, you don't feel good. You're not happy. I see a lot of people postural and the way a skeletal is set up to the ball, and their body has to compensate in order to make it happen. So if you can get into a routine of having a good PGA, a good posture, a good grip, and a good alignment where you're aiming and you're taking dead aim, a lot of good things can happen. You don't need a TrackMan to tell you that. And I'm not bashing it, but I'm just saying I see more of the curve or the needle going more to the technology. But I'm a firm believer, old school, that when you're in the middle of the 14th fairway, you can't put the TrackMan down and say, how am I going to hit this 9-iron into the green? You got to go with what you have. In ball flight, your eye is everything that you have.
No, it's so true, and there's nothing that replaces, the actual experience of playing the game and getting on the course, especially with an instructor, and learning the different shots and the different conditions and what clubs to hit, and there's just so many different things that you're absolutely right, and then just the basic fundamentals of posture, grip, alignment, can help any level of player, I think.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it's at any level, whether you're 6 years old or number one in the world, you want to definitely pay attention to those things. And I think some people, as young instructors, are so enthralled with the numbers and they can't wait to get to the technology and the hack motion and the this and the that. All good stuff biomechanically, and the wrist is 3 degrees. Who can think that? And I was thinking of that, and I was looking and saying, at that panel last night, let's go back into the archives or the grave, if you will, and we had 2 teachers sitting at the top. One would be Homer Kelly, and then the other one would be Harvey Penick.
Right.
Well, Harvey Penick wouldn't know how to turn on a light switch, and he just would say 1 or 2 things to Tom Kite or Kathy Whitworth, right, or Ben Crenshaw. And the thing he might say to them is, be patient, make sure you breathe, stick with your routine today, or whatever. Where Homer Kelly might be in his book going, you got the right flexion, or your 3 degrees, make sure you're getting the lag in order to spring the shaft. And who wins in that deal, right? So that was the spectrum of the bookends or the bandwidth of instruction, and we were in the middle of that, those 2 windows there, right? But is there anyone right, anyone wrong? Is Homer better than, no, not at all. And you got to kind of get to what your personality is, what you can think about. Are you very analytical? Are you left brain, right brain? And go, I'm more right brain, more creative thinking, free-flowing, that type of guy. And the left brain, analytical logic, and the numbers, I just can't really digest it as well.
Right. And that's, it's something interesting I see, that, and that's what makes, I think, a really good golf instructor is to know what that student needs. And, whether they, a beginner or a 20 handicap or, a tour player, I know I've heard Bubba Watson never wants to hear a number in his life, but Bryson DeChambeau wants every little detail. So it's always that person that you're trying to help. And that's why, listening more and talking less is such a huge thing about a golf professional.
Yeah, I think we teach too much. We overteach. And, when you really think, another analogy would be these long drive guys. These guys hit it 440, 430, 420. But if you gave them $100 bill to hit a 50-yard wedge shot, they couldn't do it.
Right.
And they just won't have it. And I had the opportunity to meet Kyle, the long drive king this year, the long-haired kid. He was out at our place, the PGA National, working
Mm-hmm.
on his swing. And I said, "What are you doing? First of all, you can't hit the ball here. Our range is only 300. You hit it 440." But he says, "I'm really trying to learn to hit the full part of the game and play the game the way it's designed. And I really
Yeah.
want to play tournament golf. I'd love to play the tour." And he
Right.
was working on 40-yard wedge shots, a 9-iron, a 60-yard wedge shots, finesse and feel. And that was
Mm-hmm.
what was so unique with John Daly. John Daly in our era was such a long ball hitter, a
Yeah.
gorilla, if you will, an unorthodox swing that just crushed it, but he had a super, super finesse short game that
Oh,
went
yeah.
with it. And
Right.
that ended up to be the perfect storm and formula for him to win the two majors.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something that was all I thought I was always overlooked. I mean, his short game was, insanely good, and his putting was insanely good. And
Right.
that's what I think that. Well, look at Tiger. I mean, same thing. I mean, that guy chipped in from everywhere when he was winning. He made putt after putt. I remember watching a tournament. I can't remember what year it was, but he was going to win Arnold's tournament, and he had like a 20-footer to win. And I turned to the guy next to me. I'm like, "This is going in." I go,
Yeah.
"This is just what he does." It's like
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, and he hit it, and it went in, and it's just like, he was so far. Tiger just so far beyond. With his short game was crazy. Crazy talent. So,
Yeah.
but I think I got a message from Mike Vick. He says, "What up, Wiz? Are you going to Toby Mac?"
Yeah, that's a junior golf camp
Okay,
that I do every year up at Pine Needles. Toby Mack is a
nice.
good friend of mine. He's a Christian artist and connects with the kids. And what happened, I've been there, I think, 15 years maybe. And it's,
Okay,
again, another junior thing with kids. We get about
right.
100 kids. And did a clinic in front of the whole camp with this kid and
Yeah,
changed him around in about 5 minutes. And he
right.
was like, "Oh my gosh, you were like a wizard. You changed my game." So then the
Yeah.
name the Wiz or Wiz stuck, and the kids would just call me Wiz.
Oh, that's
So
fantastic.
you get these funny little labels and stuff like that.
Right.
So over the 15 years and maybe 1,000 kids and a few
Yeah.
adults, there's people that know me out in the world as the Wiz.
Well, next time I see you at a meeting or whenever I see you again, I'm gonna be that's your new name, the Wiz. I like
The
it.
Wiz, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It's funny.
well, if let's just say here, so obviously we're shelter in place right now. No golf courses are open down here, at least down in South
Right.
Florida. What would you recommend to somebody right now sitting at home or who wants to work on their game, that can't go to a golf course or a driving range?
Well, I mean, your garage is your best friend. I mean, right now, in the last 45 days that a lot of people have been quarantined, they're out of bicycles, they're out of dumbbells. So people that are in the fitness end are trying to do something because gyms are
Right.
closed. Almost any net company or any kind of striking mat are sold out on Amazon and everything. People are trying to find ways to do things, right? And
Sure.
I would say for sure, I would try to make sure that you don't get into a situation where you spend the whole day watching YouTube videos because that would drive you crazy and that would not be
Right.
something good. But, I would say try to split it up where maybe you get a good book on a short game, read that. And then if you have a mat or a carpet, go ahead and put a coffee cup down as your cup and make some strokes there. If you don't have a putting, apparatus of any kind, putting's
Right.
43% of the game. So obviously you
Sure.
definitely want to definitely work on that. And then striking, whether you get some kind of a training aid where you take 10, 15, 20 reps a day in the side of the house, or if your garage, roof is deep enough where you can take a swing in it, do that. Or and if you have the luxury of a net, or I've seen makeshift nets where people have taken a tarp, something, and put it over a clothesline and just hit balls against it. And then
Right.
if you feel like you want to take a drive 40 minutes up the road to Martin County, St. Lucie County, get in a car and find a
Yeah.
range. I mean, there's always something to do.
Right.
Either
Right.
that, and I would say too, you watch TV, the Netflix and stuff like that, and the 1912 Masters and all the reruns. Just pick a 7-iron up by the couch or by your lazy boy chair, and every commercial, pick it up and check your grip, look in the mirror, check your posture, and align your body up to where you feel comfortable and go, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was curved and leaned over the ball so much. I need to be more erect
Right.
on a 45, stuff
Right,
like
right,
that.
right,
And
right.
if you're able to do that, good things can happen.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's absolutely awesome advice, Warren. And like I don't want to take up any more of your time. You've been phenomenal as
Oh, I
always. Just
appreciate it always.
yeah, and always a pleasure. And hopefully we get through this soon, and we can get back out to what we love doing. And but thank you so much. Thank you for being a leader in the PGA of America.
Oh, thank
I
you.
was, I figured I'd be seeing you as the president of the PGA soon, but but your time is well spent in mentoring all of our members and the young up and comers and people like myself. Like I said, just having you there and just your model of instruction and your dedication to our profession has always been something that I've always looked up to. So I want to thank you for that.
Well,
And
you're
then
so kind. I appreciate that.
no, it's my pleasure, really, and it's just, thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, I'm gonna post this on my YouTube channel, and that way everybody can see it as well there. And
Awesome.
again, thank you so much, Warren, for joining me. And like I said, be safe and hopefully see you soon.
Yes, thank you again for having me, and anything you
Oops. Oh, looks like I lost Warren here on the signal. But again, thank you to Warren Bottke and all your time and all your dedication. And we'll see you soon. Thanks again.